And one of the things I do want to say, and I think this is very, very important, is that we are in a situation with public safety right now. We're in a crisis for public safety for law enforcement, and we have a public safety advisory, citizens advisory group that is meeting. They're supposed to give us some solutions and ideas in February, and whatever those are, and we decide which ones will go on the ballot, because again, you know what, Klamath County, we're going to have to take care of ourselves. The federal government has failed us. The state government has failed us. We know as a county how to take care of ourselves, and we need law enforcement. We're not going to move on this till at least November of 2012. After all, it was going to be 2015 before we would have even had a chance to even present an RFP for one, and then who knows, 2 years after that. So we're still ahead of that schedule. But we first of all need to have law enforcement so people want to move here, because with having a facility here, we see families moving in here to be close to their loved ones.
Sure.
Yeah. So
well,
I've
been following that issue pretty close as well. And I think that they're using as their foundation, and I'm talking about the Joint Public Safety Group, they're using as their foundation the recommendations that were made by the Citizens for Public Safety, which preceded them. And in those 4 or 5 recommendations, I think there's only one that would not require a vote of the citizens, and that would be some form of consolidation, which could be worked out intergovernmentally somehow.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
But all of the other recommendations of one form or another are going to require a vote of the citizens.
Well, and I'm encouraged because the first levy that was on in 2010, it failed by, was it 2,170 some votes. This last one only failed by, what, 200 votes?
Yeah,
in
like
11.
250.
I really am encouraged because I believe the citizens are finally really seeing the need that we will have to take care of ourselves. By the way, when you see your tax bill this year, you know there's about 59 cents per thousand off of that because the fairgrounds was paid for, these buildings have been paid for, those bonds are finished. And so there's some ways that we can pay for law enforcement and then this bond at a later time to take care of ourselves down here. I'm tired of having to depend upon handouts for those who promise and then don't give, and yet we have citizens here, veterans that are suffering because we have not been able to provide a facility for them.
So what does the public safety issue have to do with this issue?
Well, I don't want to run them side by side. I think that
on the same ballot,
on the same ballot,
like a year ago this past May.
Exactly, because this one with the Public Safety Advisory Board or group could go on the May ballot for the citizens to decide how much law enforcement they want, and we need to focus on that. It's vital for our community. This we can do in November of 2012, and then even that following year begin the process of getting ready to construct. Mm-hmm. But we can't, I don't want 2 on the same ballot. I want us to concentrate on what is another top priority of mine and of the board and all of us sitting here is law enforcement, patrol, jail for our citizens. The thing is, people have to realize too, as a commissioner, I have many facets of the community that I'm concerned about, and I have to be able to look at each one and say this is important and this is important, and law enforcement is important, and I think I've proven that by the things I've done, the places I've gone, in pushing for it, and then also the veterans. So we need to take our time on this.
So even though it's not a certainty that they're going to have something for the May ballot, and I'm talking about they being the public safety group, you don't want to risk conflicting with it.
That's exactly right. Yeah, we don't want to risk it.
And I think what he was impressed about was not just our heart for our veterans, but that Commissioner Hukill had come up with a proposal.
An innovative proposal.
An innovative proposal,
yes,
that we could take to him. I mean, it was pretty incredible. I think I was pretty impressed with that, you know.
Yeah, I'm excited. I really can sit here and say with the support of our state legislatures, and I'm sure Doug and Mike, because they supported the legislation this past session, and with Jim Willis really strongly supporting it and wanting it, and our citizens, I really feel very confident that as we begin this process that we're going to be actually able to have a ribbon cutting, opening the door to our own facility here in Klamath County. By the way, Kathy, just I know some of the veterans are hearing about this. What is their reaction to this idea?
Oh, they're excited. I mean, I'm asked this question probably as much or more than you are because I deal with veterans all the time. And they are just so, as I've spoke about it, I told them I was going to Salem with you, and they're just excited. I mean, there's just an enthusiasm. There's a bonding of the community that happens, because when you talk about veterans issues, we have a lot of veterans here, and they just bond together, and they're excited about something like this. The way this would be set up, we could get them benefits to the federal government. It's just a win-win.
And this really touches you.
It does, because that's where I spend most of my time. As I said before, my dad was a World War II veteran, and my heart is with these World War II veterans. I mean,
it's got to be hard for you, Kathy, to walk into these folks' home knowing that there is an alternative out there that could provide them with even more comfort.
Yes.
But it's out of reach right now.
It is. And so I think that's where this came about for me. It was like, I could have danced out of the Oregon Department, but I thought, oh my gosh, I felt so good about it.
And I want to say, too, that I presented this to the Board of Commissioners. We have work sessions and liaisons, and I gave them this idea, and it is 100% support from the entire Board of Commissioners. They were very excited over it, and a unique, good idea. So there's full support. I want the citizens to know it's the whole board that is supporting going forth into seeing what we can do with this.
Well, I think there's no stronger statement that could be made about how innovative this is than the director telling you he's never heard of this before.
What? And I guess that took me off guard. I'm just sitting there going...
He was silent for a few moments.
Well, what I'm wondering if it isn't something that will motivate other state directors to find other places in their states.
Well, I have a sneaky suspicion that this, again, is going to be a bottom-up effort in other counties.
Right.
I really do see other counties following this lead and saying, hey, we'd love to do that here.
Yes. Yeah. Jim Willis said something in a quote. I'm going to quote him. The most successful projects are from the bottom up, from the counties on up. The most successful projects from the bottom up. And we will prove that here in Klamath County because we're going to take care of our own, beginning with this. And Klamath County many times has been we're the first with a veterans court in the entire state of Oregon. We have the only veterans court. We're the first in the entire state of Oregon to pay property taxes to our Veterans Service office. And now we'll be the very first in the nation that actually said, we'll pay for the 75 beds, you take it over.
That's excellent.
We're proud to be in Klamath County.
And as a community, everybody can take, the veterans and family, and we can all take ownership of this. That's what makes it will be ours.
Yeah, absolutely.